Okay, so I know you've seen or watched the Michelle Obama podcast, and it seems like she's a strong feminist, which you wouldn't hope that the former president of the United States wife would be, but okay, she can be that if that's what she wants to do. But my thing is, why is he agreeing with her on some of these subjects? Why is he not, giving a male perspective? And why is he not, one, defending himself? Because it makes him look bad in some of the things that she's saying. Here's a black man that became the president of the United States, but Michelle's treating him like a broken EBT card. It's shameful. And we know he know all her secrets. Not saying he should, blurt them out, but at least let her know not to stop defaming him. Anyway, let's listen to mediocre tutorial and reviews and watch some of the clips.
I did not think that the content gods was going to bless us like this here today, but here we are. Michelle Obama, she's got a podcast. We've been going over content of her podcast several times in the past couple of months, but she just got the man up there, the previous leader of the free world, her husband, Barack Obama. Now, this comes on the back of not only divorce rumors between the two, but then also recent controversy revolving around Michelle Obama's comments when asked by Angie Martinez, would you have wanted to raise a boy? And she said, no, I would have been like another Barack.
You should have threw a boy in the mix.
I would. I'm so glad I didn't have a boy.
Yeah.
Because he would have been a Barack Obama.
It's like baby Barack. It would have been amazing.
No, I would have felt for him.
Receiving criticism from this side of the internet as to say, well, what do you mean by that? What's so negative about having a black man, another man that can ascend to the leader of the free world? How dare you utilize your platform to degrade his brand, his image? Nevertheless, they sat down and have this conversation, and I will say that the majority of it, and this is probably as of a result of the controversy, they focused on what being a man is. They focused on transitioning boys into men. They focused on single parent upbringing. Yeah. So we're going to get into this conversation. Oh, by the way, they also talked about the manosphere. Let's get active on this conversation.
All right, here's how you are a dad. And I didn't really have a bunch of uncles around or other immediate family father figures. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of piecing it together. And
which is true for so many. That's the story for so many boys growing up these days.
I mean, in that sense, I think as unusual as my background was, that part of it isn't that unusual, right? Mm-hmm. It was kind of typical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
still is, even more so now.
I think a couple of things happened. Now, I was loved, and that's a starting point, right? The people who were around me cared about me, and I never felt an absence of that.
Which is what it takes to be a parent, love and discipline. You don't have all the answers, but you figure the rest out.
Now, later on, as I got older, you'd start recognizing that some of the ideas about manhood that were being given to us back in the 70s and the 80s, not all of them were great, right?
Can I ask you both to talk about what manhood meant for you? What it meant for you when you were little boys coming up, what you thought it was, and what you then came to understand it to actually be?
Well, I don't remember maybe when I was a really young child, other than the idea that guys were strong, they didn't whine, they were tough.
They were expected to go to work.
They worked
and provide,
right,
and protect.
Yes,
I don't sound that bad.
And I think back about Dad. I think when I'm thinking about Dad as a role model, I remember the fact that here you have a man who has MS, and he's getting up and he's going to work absolutely every day.
Right.
And he is not complaining. That's another thing. Men didn't complain.
You don't complain. Then. You're stoic.
You were. Now, I love that word, stoic. Coach Carmody used to use that all the time, stoic. But our dad never complained. He never got up. He had a sense of humor. That was another thing that you learned from guys is that you needed a sense of humor,
Right.
and you got along with the other guys you were with. You got along with your teammates.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm less interested in his comments, but nevertheless, let's get back to Barack's comments there. What I found interesting is that Barack is saying, you know, some of the ideals that were instilled back in the 70s and the 80s was not ideal, and then went on to describe fantastic qualities of men. I find that very interesting. Now, I will say from my own perspective, I grew up in a single father situation, so I had the best example of man and fatherhood, and that was my pops. Everything that they said right there. He was a hard-ass worker, structured as hell, objective as hell, logical as hell, and he got to the work. He got it done. And as a young boy looking at him and reflecting his image, it was a fantastic example. Now, what I will say is that, again, the majority of men growing up in America do not have that experience because a father like my father wasn't present, or just a father in general. But specific to the bad messages, I would say one of the bad messages that I received early on, and this wasn't from my father, because when my dad was a single father, I never saw women around at all. He was focused on me. But the idea of the more bodies that you got, the more viscous innards that you take down, the more manly, and almost to a degree where it's almost like a competition. I would say that those are some of the bad images, and reflecting that within your masculinity.
Yeah, part of being a man back in those days meant that you had a lot of women around you. I don't think my dad taught me that at all, but I learned that more around the company that I kept, the friends that I was around. But then I got out of that as I got older and got more mature. But being a man also means not complaining. I agree with that. I don't hardly complain about anything. You take everything as it comes, because who wants to hear a man that whines and complains all the time?
Some of the definitions of manhood, I think, were negative, right? You don't whine, you don't cry.
No emotion.
You're not a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the thing you brought up, though, about being a...
How is that negative? No, you're not supposed to whine. You're not supposed to be a victim. You're not supposed to act pathetic. You're not supposed to complain, or more accurately, over-complain. And I would argue that the current modern young man of today gets more of these references that it's okay to be a victim. It's okay to be this over-complainer. It's okay to simp. It's okay to display and, let all your emotions go. No, that's not okay. Because too many of them receive this goddamn participation trophy shit. They get told that everybody is equal outside of level of effort that is put into something. We're reducing the strength of men and told that they're all equal just for showing up. Bullshit. I don't want to see no whining. Men shouldn't be whining and crying and shit like that unless there's something significant that happened within their life. Don't talk to me until you have a major death in your family or you break both your legs. But outside of that, I can't stand when they lead with all this weak ass shit. Be a respectful man. Be a stoic man. Be a responsive man. Don't over leverage being a jerk. But hey, listen, sometimes as a man, you need to be confrontational.
I would say he's right about that. They have weakened the art of competition. Competition means someone wins and someone loses. But if everybody wins, who is used to losing and how to cope with losing? They say Colonel Sanders tried 99 recipes before he got the right one. And what he learned in those 99 attempts was what not to do. You got to fail before you can succeed sometimes.
Which it gets into sort of the misogyny that young boys are exposed to,
and the online,
the manosphere.
They're getting their parenting.
They're getting their
online.
parenting.
They're getting their notions of manhood from extreme
extremists.
Yeah, extremists.
I would say there are some extremists online, but when you take the father out of the home, a young man is going to look to most likely social media to figure out what he's supposed to be doing as a man when he's only around his mother or his sisters and he don't have that male influence. He's going to look on social media. He's going to get messages like Charleston White.
The black woman is not going to let you have 100% control of your legacy. She's going to diminish it. She's going to destroy your legacy. If nothing else, assassinate the character in the eyes of your children. So meaning you could never be a superhero to your kids because you can't override what mama say. I don't give a damn about you telling your daddy. Not only is the mama gonna say that, the grandmama and them gonna say that too. Give a damn about you telling your daddy. And dad is supposed to be a superhero to the kids, homie. So if mama is the villain in the hero, then daddy in the eyes of the kids, homie, he ain't especially if he ain't got no money.
Your son may hear that message and start to rebel. He may think he deserved a big piece of chicken.
Rock. Well, I believe I should be able to get at least a piece of chicken. All right? I should be able to get a piece of chicken and, maybe a steak and also maybe a dessert because I've had a stressful time for the last decade.
And ladies, if you don't allow a man to come in and play that leadership role, an uncle, a brother, a pastor, someone from your church, whoever, someone that you trust, come in and play that leadership role, that male figure, then you get what you get.
Raising both boys and girls within this new digital age presents issues that our society has never tackled ever before. And it is especially difficult if solid family structure is not present consistently at home. The reason that there's so many boys to young men searching for father figures, pseudo father figures, pseudo uncles online is because many of them were raised in single mother households, or many of them lack direction or structure within their life. But I think it's important for women to understand is that no matter how good of a mother that you are, a boy will always crave a masculine presence in his life. And the easiest and the most accessible way to find it nowadays is through the internet, where many men just speak the truth. They give structure. You may call men-centric content or the manosphere as littered with extremists, but that's just not true. These men are getting legitimate guidance on how better to live their lives and how better to find and attract a woman for their life.
I think we did a pretty good job of raising our girls, but I've said often that I think I would have had more difficulty raising a son.
I agree.
Because I think I might have been more judgmental, harder, and I would have tried to. I like to think I would have been more self-aware enough to combat that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think father-son relationships, for me particularly, if I don't have a dad around to show it to me, might have been more difficult. So
I understand what he's saying about not having a father figure around, but before that, you said we did a pretty good job with our daughters. Then if you did a pretty good job with your daughters, why couldn't you have done a pretty good job with raising a son? I mean, didn't Barack bring two guys together over a beer? I believe one was a professor and one was a police officer. I mean, use that type of logic on your son. If you can run the country, a budget for the entire country, talk to presidents from other countries and stop wars and all this other stuff, I think you can figure out how to raise a son. At the end of the day, don't downplay how you would have parented a son when a lot of men and young men look up to you.
How to walk with mom when you're walking down the street. Always walk on the street side.
Mm-hmm. On the street
and
side.
holding the door and opening the door for her, allowing her to go in. It was just things like that.
Right.
And then I'd have to really work at thinking of something negative that dad did.
Okay.
But
Well, what about, let me ask this though. I mean, dad also came home, put his feet up, he didn't always cook, or he didn't do dishes, he didn't do.
But you have to remember that I was thinking at the time that was okay because he was at work all day and he needed to rest and mom was always cooking. So, but that's a good one. That's a good potential negative.
Gender roles, very clear.
Very clear gender roles.
The man was having a hard time in order to figure out some of the negatives that their father went through to provide for the family. And here goes Michelle with all her damn feminism. Meanwhile, it worked for your family. It worked for the parents, for the dynamic. The man was doing everything in his power to ensure that y'all had everything that you needed as children. You don't need to criticize him. Both of y'all grew up just fine. My thing is that many feminists today will talk ill of couples, families that want to exercise traditional gender roles and act like it's a bad thing. And in fact, it's what can give a household supreme structure, awesome balance, and long-term stability.
I agree. And I don't think it's in this day and age particularly about gender roles. It's about what works for your family. You know, if I cook well, then someone else should be doing the dishes, or, you know, however y'all discuss it at the beginning of the relationship. This is what I do. This is what I want to do. And we put it together as long as everything gets done. If I had a day off and my wife was at work, she didn't have to come home and then cook for me too. She didn't have to come home and do anything. I don't really care about the gender roles. I care about that everybody's pitching in and getting it done. So I don't understand Michelle trying to say that was a negative thing. It wasn't. By the way, this guy in the middle is Michelle Obama's brother. Now, I ain't seen or heard of this dude. I ain't seen him at the inauguration or the Beyonce concert at the White House. I ain't seen this brother. But if you've heard of him, put a note down in the comments. Let me know when you seen him.
You know, more direct conversations about the first time you were with a woman intimately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean sex, Craig?
I do mean sex, and it's funny how I was tiptoeing around.
Craig got a little.
I was
gonna let
tiptoeing
him
around
do
it
it
because
too,
I feel like I'm on television.
You made me nervous. I was just like, let him get through this.
But
Damn, man, just say it with your damn chest. What, you guys gonna lose a brand sponsor for saying sex? Anyway, I find it interesting that they can have this conversation and not talk about some of the real issues at hand. Back in the time periods of their father growing up, it was expected that men were to be chivalrous, to hold open doors for, women. And then nowadays it can be considered a microaggression, or that men and women have been equalized so much that biological men can now participate within women's sports. This kind of dynamic confuses boys that are trying to figure out how to be men. But then the content readily available on the internet can take these unique situations and guide them to make the best choices for them. But instead of acknowledgement of that guidance, instead they get shamed. Instead, they're told that the content that they're reviewing is extreme. But continuing to ignore the plight of young boys and men is exactly why, one of the many major reasons why y'all party lost. That's a major reason Trump is now in office, is because there's so many men that are tired of being ignored. And the Democratic Party has made it a mission to prop up women's issue while ignoring men's issues.
He's right again. I mean, for the last 20 or 30 years, all I've heard was rights for women's and for gays. Advancing, and I haven't heard any rights for men come about. I know single parent brothers that live on their own. They're struggling to get, food stamps, and I know women who live with their mom that's getting food stamps right off the rip. So, I mean, it's tough out there for men.
And what's actually interesting about that is they begin to acknowledge boys being ignored in the next section.
Recognize that this kind of transition from the old models that you and I, Craig, grew up on. Just like you said, you took a lot of good stuff from your dad, but then there were some modifications that just had to be made, either because of blind spots, limits, lack of resource, what have you.
The times.
Where we joke that, talking to Malay and Sasha, sometimes they go out with their friends and, they're in a group and and the guy's got crocodile arms, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
Not picking up the check.
not picking up the check. And it's like, okay, you don't have to pick it up all the time. But if you're never picking it up,
Right.
that's a
That
problem.
says something about you,
if you're
yeah.
never opening a door or pulling out a chair, because that's just common
Kindness.
courtesy. That's
And
just
it's-
being kind,
and it's
right?
kindness.
So for those of you who do not have sons, so Emma, we are rooting for you because those of us with daughters,
We need good men.
we've got to have good guys out there, not necessarily to get married, but to make sure that what we're learning, I think, is that when we don't think about boys and just assume they're going to be okay because they've been running the world and they've got all the advantages relative to the girls, and all of which has historically been true in all kinds of ways.
I think we got to stop sending all of these mixed signals to young men, right? Because society is confusing them. The messages that they're receiving is confusing them about what it is to be a man, what they're supposed to do in order to provide for a woman. And we're stripping away that clarity to grow into strong, confident leaders. For example, if you're going to present the issue that men and women are equal, then why can I not be equally responsible for the check? We're equal, right? But you guys fought for equality. You fought to be equal. But now there's an issue if 50-50 is presented. Now, as a man, I don't agree with 50-50 because of the dynamics of the relationship that I'd like to set up. But again, we get back into that gender roles conversation. But these young men are confused. Are they crocodile arming or T-Rex arming, whatever he said, because they're like, well, she wants to be a strong, independent woman. Why can't she not pick up this bill? And at the same junction, many of these young men want to forgo being taken advantage of. They know that women might want to go on a date with them because they want Ruth Chris, not because the woman is actually fundamentally interested in him as a man, but they want to go have fun for a couple of hours somewhere and they've never been to that restaurant. So come on, guy, go take me over here. But if there's an expectation for men to take up these traditional chivalrous type of roles, then do not dissuade young women from practicing some of those traditional type of roles as well. Men and women are not equal. We can be equally valued, but for different things. We complement each other. We're not meant to compete. But as a man, you cannot expect to display yourself in such a giving way without also getting something back in return. If you want men to show up as leaders, protectors, as well as providers, then women should be bringing something to the table as well. Sprinkle in a little bit of modesty. Sprinkle in a little bit of femininity. Sprinkle in a mindset that honors participation, that honors letting him be a man, not honoring wearing a power struggle as a badge of honor.
And your daughters are still in their 20s. If they're dating guys their age, these guys haven't really developed any type of financial anything yet. They're still in the early stages of figuring out how to make money, and they're getting a chance to hang out with your daughter. They know she got it. Doesn't make it right, but if she keeps picking up the check,
Precisely because of that, if you're not thinking about what's happening to boys and how are they being raised, then that can actually hurt women. And I would argue that some of the broad political trends we've seen, not just in this country, but around the world, have to do with this sense of, boys, men not feeling as if they are seen, feeling as if they count. Mm-hmm. And that then makes them more interested in appeals by folks who say, you know what, the reason you don't feel respected is because women have been doing this, or this group has been doing this, or that group's been doing this, and that is not that's not a healthy place to be. And I will say
It's not a healthy place to stay.
As quote unquote progressives,
But you must understand it.
Democrats, progressive parents, enlightened ones, we've made that mistake sometimes in terms of our rhetoric, where it's like we're constantly talking about it, what's wrong with the boys instead of what's right with them. We rightly have tried to invest in girls to make sure that there's a level playing field, and then they're not barred from opportunities. But we haven't been as willing, I think, to be intentional about investing in the boys, and that's been a mistake. And I think people are starting to recognize that. So going back to your optimism, I think there's a healthier conversation taking place now, both among this new generation of young women and men, but also among the public at large that's starting to see like, hey, we got to do better by our boys. And if we do better by our boys and we're producing stronger, more confident men, that's going to be good for our girls and our women as well.
How about we just need men to be better, period? There are more men judges, men lawyers, men billionaires, men congressmen, and those are the people that make the decisions of what goes on in this country. So how about we just need men to be better for the whole country, not just for women? There's another part of this show that Will Evans talked about. I want you to hear this.
He kind of needed Michelle to get in office, but he still was more pro homosexuality than he was pro black. So when people try to black guilt trip me with the black stuff, man, shut up. I don't care if he black, blue, white, green. I don't care. Right is right and wrong is wrong. If somebody, I don't care what color this man is or what his title or position is, God bless him. But you're not going to tell me what I need to do with my son. Oh, you need to put some. Let's play it out. Let's play it out. So what you're telling me is I need to go outside, find some gay people, find some gay men. I need to make friends with them, make nice with them, become close friends with them, and then let them. And hey, by the way, gay friends that I just met, I need y'all to start helping me raise my son because I don't know how to do it by myself. Because y'all are better equipped to teach. What was the article saying? What the article say? Where'd it go? Because the boys need not just exposure to one guy, one dad. No matter how good the daddy is, he can't be everything. That boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad, right? It says the president argued that men need LGBTQ friends to model kindness. That's what it was. To model kindness and empathy and to be a role model to their kids. Just in case the kids come out as gay or non-binary. Knock it off, man. Knock it off, bro. I don't need my son to have a gay mentor to teach them kindness and empathy. Stop it.
Come on, Obama. Come on. If you're a heterosexual man, you want to keep your daughter off the pole and you want to keep your son on the straight and narrow. You don't want to influence him with gay energy. They have that enough outside of your home. Not to mention they're trying to bring it inside of your home with all the TV shows and everything else. So you don't need to bring no gay man into your house to teach your son empathy. That's like telling a gazelle to lay down when you see a lion and just play dead. Nah, you don't do that. You get out of there. Juke, run, whatever you got to do. Runs till you can't runs no more. You don't want to become barbecue. You get out of there.
Look, I'm just saying, man, let him go now and it won't be no hard feelings.
No hard feelings? Have you ever seen a Rottweiler fight a Chihuahua? Have you?
No.
Me neither, but it ain't pretty. I'm sure of it. Now you hold on till I get in the car.
I don't need a gay man to teach my son kindness and empathy. The Bible taught me that. My mother taught me that.
When I was young, as a child, I thought as a child. I understood as a child. I spake as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that's going on. You know? I don't agree with polygamy. Personally. I don't agree with a man having 4 and 5 wives. I don't agree with that. Polygyny. I don't agree with a woman having, multiple partners, swingers, and all this stuff. I don't agree with a lot of stuff, sexuality-wise. Why is it only highlighted when we don't agree with, hey, I don't know, I don't agree with that. Now, there's nothing wrong with the people. I think that people are people. Everybody has their own thing, whatever it is. God bless them. And, you know, but you're not going to force me to agree with something. That don't make nobody. I'm not afraid of none of that. That's not a phobia. Whatever they be trying to push on us to make us feel guilty about having our own opinions. I don't believe in that. You know what I'm saying? 100%. They still loved by God. Somebody say I agree, but they're still loved by God. 100%. 100%. I believe that a lot of them still gonna go to heaven. Most people, you believe in God, I'm gonna see you there.
I like what he said there. And if your child still turns out gay, you're still gonna love him. But you don't need to influence him with that. So that was very disappointing. And I rock with Barack. You know, I think he's one of the most positive male black figures that we have in our community today.
If you was ever gonna vote for, this is the nigga to vote for right here. This is the one. Yes, absolutely. Cause he is the light. He's been running for 2 years. He ain't had no baby mama come out the woodwork. This nigga don't owe nobody $200 for nothing. He ain't never had a pit bull puppy. Don't have an earring. Never had a tattoo. Where did you get this from? A cave in Salt Lake City, some goddamn where? This is like a black superhero. This is amazing. I believe he can fly. Thank God for Michelle Obama. That's a real nigga. Barack may be a clone, but Michelle Obama is a thoroughbred. You can look right on TV and tell that's a real. You know, if you walk up on her in person, she smell like Motions, hair conditioner, and cocoa butter. That's a real right there.
I knew Obama. I knew he had some in him. You know, because at first you couldn't tell. But one day it jumped out of him. Y'all remember that day him and George Bush was walking outside the White House? And his swag was on 250? I'm sitting at the crib watching on TV. I said, that motherfucker's a pimp. You could damn near hear the conversation. Hurry up and get your out of my house. Take your punk back to Texas.
But I need him to stand up, have a little backbone, quit being whipped.
Now, Marcus, I hear a girl at the office got you put with. Why don't you reverse it? Don't whip that. Look, bang, 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 bang.
Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.